TSPN is excited to announce Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. Focusing on the lives, experiences, and viewpoints of motherlode women, the show features a rotating cast of 4 women of all ages and from all walks of life. Quick, upbeat, and fast-paced with a variety of topics, this 1-hour show will be aired live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Tune in, it's Just Between Us.
And we have giving and caring.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to Just Between You and Us. I'm Monique from Ione.
I'm Kathleen from Mountain Ranch.
I'm Helen Bonner from Jackson.
And I am Martha from Ione, Jackson.
Nowhere. Here and there.
A few other places. Good morning, everybody.
Well, thanks for joining us this morning. So, shall we find a couple topics to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to pick up a couple of...
So you want to go ahead and roll?
well, she needs to pick up a couple of topics. Who's going to pick up the topics?
Okay. There you go. And then I'll pick from you, and Martha's going to roll.
And then you need to read the 2 first topics. Hello.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, give her the topics so she can read them.
Okay.
Go ahead and grab
Go
the
It's
ahead.
been a while,
There we
huh,
go.
Helen?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
the first topic, please.
First topic, we have a free-for-all.
Okay, and
Okay.
the second one?
The second one is surprise.
Surprise.
Number 2?
Surprise.
Number 2 is, what would a great surprise gift be if you wished for one? In other words, if someone was getting you a surprise gift.
Oh.
Let me get my list out here. Well, that sounds like fun.
Oh, I
Good.
have a few ideas.
Do
You're
you?
thinking about it.
Well, it's great to have everybody here today. Thanks so much. Well, we will be right back in just a short ad break, and we'll be talking about these fun things.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage.
We have some great topics to talk about. So the first topic that was pulled was our free-for-all. So Martha, do you want to help us
Well,
start out?
what was the question?
Free for all.
Yeah,
Free-for-all.
the free-for-all.
So we're gonna talk about-
Okay, we're going to talk about, I wanted to talk about immigration because I'm really familiar since I come from another country. And I know that all of us at one time or another have come from other countries, no matter who we are. It's very hard to find a real American in this
That's
country
right.
anymore. But, you know, they are talking about immigration and being able to give permits to the people or give them citizenship. They have to earn it. You know, they have to be good citizens. They have to obey the law. They have to have been paying their taxes and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that I feel that because they are not even able to get an ID, you know, some employers pay cash to some of these people, so their taxes are not being collected. You know, so I feel it would help us a lot. They already here. Okay,
Right, they are.
whether we like it or not, some states are losing a lot of their crops because there's not a lot of jobs anymore, and you know, the economy went down, and a lot of the Hispanic people went back. I'm not talking just about Hispanics. I'm talking about everybody all
Asian,
over the world.
anywhere,
You know,
sure.
anybody, because this amnesty would be, I don't know if it's going to be called an amnesty or not, but you know, they would give them the right to fill up the paperwork. And you know, filling up paperwork, it's not like you're going to get it tomorrow.
Right,
You know,
it's a starting of the procedure.
and most people that are already here, you know, legally waiting for their status, you know, it takes up to 10 years to get your status. Yeah.
And
Everybody
like
goes,
you
why
said,
don't you go
they're
get your
already here."
papers? You know, why don't you go get your papers? Well, it takes a long time.
Do you
know,
also
for-
have to have someone sponsor you unless you're in a
Yes.
medical profession or some, you know, type of profession that's needed within the United
Correct.
States? It's
Correct.
hard to do that.
It's very hard. I know. Probably about close to 38 years ago, I got my paperwork. First, you get an alien status, okay, to be able to get a permit to be here and work and have legal paperwork to work and get a Social Security. And you know, it's a long process, long process, and you have to be a good citizen, and you have to be in good standing
Both
with the
of my
law.
parents are from
Martha, I
other
have
countries too.
a
You know, and-
question. Is it true that here's a a family that's been in the United States long enough that there are children who have been born in the United States, and that their parents can be sent back
Yes,
to Mexico.
they have been sent to back.
I think that's outrageous.
But that's the law. That's the law, and we have to follow the law the way it is. As tough as it sounds, as hard as it sounds, that's the way it is.
And we're
And
not
we
just
have to
talking
change the
about,
law.
immigration laws pertaining to employment, but pertaining to just regular life. Raise your kids here, they grow up here. All of a sudden, you're deported out of the blue. I mean, how awful can that be?
Well,
for
right
the
now
kids and the
they have
families?
another program where they have given some kind of amnesty to kids that have been in this country that
Born
that they
here.
that not born here, but they were brought here since they were
Very
very young, and they they went to school and they are still working. Anybody under 18 years old, they're getting some kind of status to show that they have been in this country and they've been studying, and it was against
That's
their
good.
it was against their will.
Right.
But there's a lot of contradictions, because a lot of people go, why should we have illegal people here? Well, nobody's doing anything about it.
Guess who takes care of the kids in wealthy communities? Guess who picks the
Well,
strawberries?
but-
Guess who comes and picks the pears and apples?
It's
and,
true.
And I never argue with anybody that it's against immigration. Immigration is a very important program of this country, because we have
We're all immigrants.
in one way or another, when the people start saying, like in Arizona, they have that program where, they're very harsh. They find you, they cut you off, and you're done. Whether you have family here, whether you don't, you're done. You're out of here.
Well,
And-
I agree. I think I agree with you, and that we need to have these people registered so they can contribute to our taxes and
Correct.
contribute to our.
There
system.
used to be
The
a
only
program.
issue that I have is when we get an influx of people that want to live off the system.
Correct.
And we have seen that, and I think that and this doesn't just apply to people coming in from other countries. This applies to the people that we have here,
Everyone here,
that
sure.
are born generation after generation into the idea that it's okay to just receive a welfare check.
I completely agree.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I think that we need to establish, that we need to really be thoughtful
There
about
used to
how
be
we establish.
There used to be a program called Braceros, where they gave permits to men and women to come and work in the fields, in the restaurants, and this and that. And then that way you get to pay for your taxes. You get to prove that you are a
Right.
good citizen and be able to have ID, because there's a lot of people out there without ID.
With that said, I think that would be a wonderful thing. If you're here already, why not at least make it tolerable for yourself and your family?
Right. We need to go to our
there's-
next topic.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's roll on to the next one. Would you read it again?
Okay. So we had.
Do we roll
surprise.
again?
No,
That's okay.
no.
No, we have this one already. A surprise is the topic. And number 2 was, what would a great surprise gift be if you wished for one?
Well, I didn't get my list out yet, but let me think about it. Oh, if it was unrealistic, okay, because there's realistic and unrealistic. If it was unrealistic, I would love it if I could have lunch with my mother. She's passed away on Thanksgiving. If I could have anything in the world, would be another day with her. Just one day would be good, or lunch. Because now I have all these questions. Mom, what do we do for this? And who is this in the family? So unrealistically, I would love to do that. But realistically, that's a tough one, because when we get to our age, I think we have most of the things we'd like to have, and the wish
Talk
list
for
is
yourself.
smaller.
Speak for
No,
yourself.
I think what I want for my
Martha's always
daughter.
ready.
She's 17. I go, I don't really want things for myself now. It's how can I help her grow and improve? So I don't know. Maybe you have something else.
The best surprise, I think, that what I would really like to do, Helen and I were kind of talking about this earlier, I would like to just be able to focus solely on writing my book. and not feel like I've constantly got to do something. My husband and I were
Wait till you
discussing
hear
this
my
last night.
unrealistic
But that would be
dream.
the biggest gift for me right now, is just to have that time, uninterrupted time, to just write.
How would you achieve that?
Huh?
How would you achieve that?
Well, I've been really, really racking my brains trying to figure that out. My husband and I have been talking about it, and
Is it unrealistic?
well, it can be.
Yeah.
It can be. What it's about is, you sacrifice things so that you can have other things, and so that's basically what it is. And it's about, whittling down your budget to where you can afford to do. I'm sure you could shed a lot of light on
Yeah.
that.
Well, of course, what I remember is back in the days when writers were men, and the women who married men who were writers knew that their job was to support in every way that, and which means don't nag them that they're always in their office writing and all that kind of thing. And I have found as a woman, as a writer, it doesn't work that way. And part of it is because I'm a woman, I want to connect with my family. I want to connect with my grandchildren. I want to connect with my husband. And I also find that if my door is closed and I say, just don't bother me right now, I'll be out in 4 hours. Yeah,
Good luck.
good luck. Good luck, exactly.
Does anybody
And
want
there's
to
a
share about
sense
my
of, oh, but aren't we important to
I
you?
want to hear
like
too.
that?
Yes, of course, Martha.
So I do believe it's harder for a woman to do it, but
It
we have
is.
to do it.
Yeah.
We must
So
do
what
it.
would be your
It's
best
important.
surprise,
It's very
Martha?
important.
Tell me.
Oh, well, my unrealistic dream,
Oh, I love those.
this one is like, I would like to have like 10 husbands, okay?
All at once?
Are you sure?
I love this girl.
One,
I think there's some guys out there who
I want one
happy
to be a mechanic, one to be the landscaping, one to be the cook, one to be the cleaning person, one to be the one to just my driver, I have a lot of needs.
Well, I'm going to introduce you to a dear friend of mine named Ryan Kramer. And he is all of those things. And he is looking for a job. Very handsome, 31-ish.
Well, I don't want to give them a job. I want them to be my husbands so they don't charge me.
Oh, okay. Well, you never know. You never know.
I met this lady. She called them her husbands, but she had all these people that work for her, and she paid them to do. But she
Kinda
said,
like me,
These
yeah.
are my husbands. This is my pool boy. This is my landscaper.
gardener,
This
yeah.
is,
Men used to do that, and they called it a harem.
The hair.
Really?
So you have to
Ah, no. Well, sleep is one thing. Doing something else is different. I probably could sleep with them, but I could not do everything else you're thinking, Helen. But anyway, that's
That'd be the
my
best surprise.
unrealistic dream.
Okay,
Yes,
very good. I like that.
That's great.
What else would you expect from me?
And what if you had a realistic surprise?
My granddaughter's watching right now. She's probably going,
So,
Grandma.
okay. We'll keep it G-rated.
How embarrassing.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay.
Live with it.
Well, then,
It's just a dream, an unrealistic dream that I can talk about.
how about we do a little rolling? Let's pick out 2 more subjects, and we'll go to a commercial.
Okay.
You want to hold those up and
And give them to her?
Yep.
Give them to her.
Oh,
Give her
okay.
2 topics.
Give her 2. Okay.
Just fan them.
Oh, wait a
Just
minute.
fan them.
Any 2 you like.
Time's
Here's
going.
1.
Okay.
Here's 2.
All right.
Okay, the first
Topics.
Okay, the first one is giving and caring.
one. Number 1.
Number 1 is it easy for you to give to others without expecting anything in return?
Of course. And the next topic?
Next topic is your education.
Oh, good one.
Number 1.
Number 1 again.
Okay. Are you satisfied with educational achievements?
Okay.
Personal
that
educational
again.
achievements.
Kind of a
Well,
general
Those are
statement.
all really good questions, and we're going to go to commercial real quick, and we'll be right back to answer some questions.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. And now back to Just Between Us.
Welcome back to Just Between Us. We have some great topics to talk about. Why don't you go ahead and read us the first one?
Okay, the first one is giving and caring. Is it easy for you to give to others without expecting anything in return?
Always, always. I have never been one personally. I have never been one that if I give something to somebody, I never expect anything. I know that the more I give, there's an energy out there, okay, that I believe that it's going to be there for me when I need it. Don't ask me how I know that. It's there, period.
It's like contributing to the general consciousness that we were talking about. You're contributing to the whole. You're part of something. We're all part of something, whether it's invisible or not. Who knows? But when we do contribute to that, the betterment of our society, the betterment of our community, the betterment of our family, whatever it is, that comes back. And the same thing is if you give with strings attached, you're only going to get back what you're asking.
Yeah,
as opposed to,
when somebody has done something for me and they tell me, you owe me now, I go, oh boy.
I didn't know we're keeping score here.
Well, it depends on how I have to pay you. I know how many tacos.
I know,
do you like
But
tacos?
sometimes, I think sometimes my friends say something like that
Yeah,
to me
but I
when
think they're kidding.
They're
I think
half
they're
kidding.
kidding, yeah.
They are. They
Well, you owe me
usually
now,
are.
and they're
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
It
I
feels
think
good
so.
to give to people. I mean, it doesn't have to be monetary. It can be simply your time.
Especially writers.
I have a dear friend, and
Exactly.
we have this great relationship where, he's just kind of getting on his feet. I could use some help just with life, just kind of conjuring life after my mom passed away. I really was kind of blue, and I just had a hard time even kind of getting up. Am I going to make breakfast for my daughter? I better get up. And on the days that were really hard or I was exceptionally tired because I didn't sleep the night before, I could hear my roommate in the kitchen cooking eggs. I could hear him sizzling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's
She's
cooking
doing that
breakfast
for
for my
you.
daughter because he sees that I need something. And
yeah.
I just feel so blessed. And so that's
You
just
are
simply to say,
blessed.
I give very little. I feel like just, having him as roommate is great. But he gives so much more back to me. I feel like I could never repay him. Even if I wanted to, I could
Except that
never
look
repay
what's gonna
him for what
happen
he's done
is
for me.
Someday when you feel
you know-
all healed and well,
Yeah.
you're going to be giving it on, passing that on. Maybe
Exactly.
not to him,
Exactly.
but to
Whoever I
someone.
can help.
That's how it
And
works.
that's how
It's
it
great.
works. It's like I don't know that I've ever received something that has gone right directly back to that person unless that's been part of the deal. And that to me is not really necessarily a gift. That's more of a deal. But I know that when I've received anonymous or just one specific instance that I'm thinking about is I was in graduate school. I was doing my bachelor's degree. And I was working at the college at the time, and my dean, who is also dean of northern states or whatever of all the colleges, I was diagnosed with something, and she just walked in one day and handed me $400 and said, "Here, take care of it." And I was just flabbergasted.
Oh my word!
And so I decided from that point on that I would always, do anonymous little things for people. You know what I mean?
Oh, you just
and I'm
do.
sure it has amounted to a whole lot more than $400 at this stage in the game. But I always would do children's programs or something else, or just contribute money somewhere.
back.
Because of that. That was the first time in my entire life that anybody had ever done anything like that. And she would not let me pay her back. And now this was something that happened with my daughter, and I don't, we're talking about our group and our community. My daughter worked for Andre's Bakery for years, which she was her first out of high school. They turned around, because she helped them build that business. They turned around and bought her a car when she graduated from high
Oh,
school.
that is
I
so
was
generous.
in tears.
Oh,
I mean, I
wonderful.
absolutely.
So generous.
That and Kim took her. My daughter called me. She's sobbing. I'll never forget. I don't know if I can even. But she called me. She said, "Mom, you're not going to guess what Matt and Kim did." And it was just like,
Yeah.
I could not believe that.
Yes,
You know
yes.
what I'm saying? But these are the kind of things that happen when
and,
you just
and they
don't
are
expect.
unspoken.
Right.
It's
They
a great
are
story,
unspoken.
Kathleen.
When
Yep.
you do things for people,
Right.
you don't, as an employer, you do it because you care.
Exactly.
That's
That's
all.
the difference
Yeah.
between just an employer and somebody's very giving like you are. I think like all of us are.
Right.
Well, there's all sorts of ways we do it. Like I get frustrated with a lot of computer things, especially when it gets ahead of me. And recently I was stuck on where I was supposed to get some things into a program for my writing that I didn't know how to get it in there. And so I'm complaining to my friend Nancy on the phone, and half an hour later, she's at my house, because she's 20 years younger than I am. And half an hour later, she's at my house, and she's sitting in front of my computer and going, "What? Look, it's easy." And I'm like,
nice.
Wow, that is such a blessing.
And you know, Helen,
Exactly.
I have gotten a lot from the book, your book that you wrote. You know, so giving that part to me was wonderful.
And I'd love to hear about that, but unfortunately, we need to move on. So let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Alrighty, so the next topic is your education. And specifically, we have number 1. It's, are you satisfied with your educational achievements?
Wow, that's a great
great
subject.
bragging topic, everybody. Get ready.
Well, I will say that I didn't finish my college education when I was in my 20s. I got married when I was, let's see, I guess I met my husband when I was 21, and we got married when I was 24, and we started a family right away. So just recently, about 6 or 8 months ago, I enrolled at University of Phoenix, which is the online program, because I am a mom, and it is hard to get away and to be gone. If your kids are sick, that's not a very good excuse not to show up for class. And I don't really enjoy driving all the way to Sacramento and back. So for me, it has helped me achieve, and I'm on the way to achieving this lifelong goal of mine. And, you know, I'm satisfied with, you know, maybe a BS in business. I just want to feel that accomplishment. And I also want to be a good role model for my daughter. You know, she's college bound, but I want to do it for me and for her. So I'm on my way. Not satisfied yet, but on the way.
Good girl. Good girl.
I think it's really important. I think it's not only important for us with our personal goals. I have a PhD, but I had to wait until my kids were old enough that I could do that without feeling like it was costing them. But I think it was very good for them to watch me do that, because we, especially daughters, we are the ones that have to model that no, maybe we can't have it all, but we don't have to just have this either.
Right. And I agree. I totally agree. And I did the same thing. I waited until, you know, I didn't finish my degree right away either. I went back and got my master's degree in 1989, I think it was, at the Academy of Art in San Francisco. And it was a tremendous sacrifice, but my children saw that, you know, they saw that. And then most recently, you know, and I started teaching, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach art. That was my
you're
dream.
an artist too.
And I've accomplished that, and I enjoy it, and I still do art, and I still sculpt. But I've also had a lifelong dream of metaphysical sciences and comparative theology and spiritual belief systems throughout the world, and quantum physics. And so I was able to find a University of Metaphysical Sciences, and now I'm 6 months away from my doctorate.
Congratulations. Exciting.
You know, it's just something that, you know, it's a personal goal. I've done all the research already because I started doing the research in 1990, and I had that near-death experience. So it was right after that I started doing the research, but I had to wait, like you. I had to wait.
But don't you feel like there's more to you now?
Yeah.
And Martha, I would love to hear about you, because education isn't all about buildings and classrooms.
You know, I came to this country, I did not speak one word of English, nothing. Within 6 months, I think it's the will, the power of wanting to do something that you do it. I didn't speak, I still don't speak good English. I speak enough to where I can communicate with people, and even with that, you know, I still feel a little bit like I see people that highly educated. I've been around, you name it, I've been around. I went and I studied real estate. I passed my tests. How? I don't know. I worked very hard to do it. Then I got very ill. I was running the restaurant. I was running I was running my real estate business. I was in the board of directors of the hospital, Sador Amador. I was in the Chamber of Commerce. I was with JBCA. I mean, I was just everywhere.
Sound like the teenagers with all the activities.
And I started, and I started educating myself that way, speaking with people and this and that. I'm a very silly person. Anybody, my grandkids can tell you how silly I am. I learn to be at each step with each person, to learn how to approach them, how to talk to them, how to treat them. Every person that I have met in my life, I try to learn the good from those people. And that's been my education.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to a commercial here in just a minute, so how about a couple more topics, ladies? Can we do that?
Okay, one more topic.
Okay.
Go ahead and
Ready?
take them in. What's the first
Two
one?
topics we have pet peeves.
Number
One.
Number one again. Wow.
Oh boy. Okay. What is the one thing that makes your blood boil?
Oh, okay.
Must there only be one? Okay. Okay, we'll be nice.
And then we have our free for all after
Oh,
that.
cool.
Wow, well,
Cool.
that's great.
That'll be fun.
I think so.
I'm already
We'll have to
thinking
talk
three.
about what to do on our free-for-all, and we'll be back with you in just a few minutes here. So we're going to go to commercial here shortly.
Bring me
I
another
just,
shot of tequila.
Oh,
what
yeah,
you-
can somebody give her a
What you
refill
just
here?
said.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. Just Between Us.
Well, welcome back to Just Between Us. I'm Monique from Ione.
I'm Kathleen from Mountain Ranch.
I'm Helen Bonner from Jackson.
And you know me, I'm from Ione in Jackson, in anywhere that anybody wants to take me.
Depends on where all those men are.
And they want to pay the rent.
That's right, from whatever land that is that
That's
you got that
right.
tree from.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead. What's the next subject we're going to talk about?
Okay, the first one is pet peeves. And number one is, what is the one thing that makes your blood boil?
Mine is when I get on the computer to learn about something good, like on Facebook, because I like to see the positive. When as soon as I see something negative, it just makes my blood. Why are people have to be
what she
so
said, it makes your blood
negative?
boil.
It just, why do people have to be negative and mean and ugly and nasty? If all of us had, a little good within ourselves and share with people, this world would be so much better, And that's my opinion, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good opinion. Yeah,
It's good.
it's so much easier to find the positive in something than
it
to pick
is.
at the negative.
Yes.
But then I know that every job I've ever had is always there's always been a wonderful reason why I took the job, but there's always been one particular person, or always in every job I've ever had, that you have to learn to work with.
Yes, you have to look
that
and
that
see.
is your challenge, so to speak.
Oh, trust me, I know about those things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost as if, I don't know. What keeps coming up for me is Jesus didn't say love your neighbor because he's a nice guy.
I love the story where somebody comes and says, but I went and you told me to go and love the world, and I went and
Right.
and here's this person that's crabby and mean and
Right.
vindictive and everything, and the wise person says, and who did you think needed love?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a Chinese.
That's true.
In the Tao, there's a story about a woman who has this horrible husband, and because back in those days you were married to whoever, you didn't have a choice of who you were married to. So she was married to this older man, and he was just a crab apple, horrible person. And so what happens is she leaves, and she ends up in this cave with this bear.
Oh my God.
She ends up having having to make friends with this bear. And then she comes back and her husband's like a piece of cake compared to a bear. But anyway, it doesn't, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but
Yes,
I
of
just love
course.
that story.
Yes, I bet, yeah.
I've got
Hard way
like
to
a
learn.
totally silly pet peeve, and I know it's silly and I can't help myself, and it's quite petty actually. But it has to do with the toilet paper roll in the bathroom. It's true. Every time I go into the guest bathroom, which is my daughter's
backwards.
bathroom, I go in there and not only is the roll empty, okay, that's been noticed, but there is a brand new roll sitting on top of it. It's not on the little roller, it's sitting on top of it. And I go, now,
How
what
hard
exactly
is your-
made me the toilet paper roll, put her on her? How did I get that job, and why do I
I
always
am
have
going
to do
to
it?
give you a secret how to fix that problem.
Okay.
Buy the little sticky notes and write with felt pen, all the little notes of the things that bother you. My kids hated me because I didn't yell at them. I just put a little sticky note.
Such a good idea. Such a good
Clean
idea.
the sink when you're done. Thank you.
Very good.
Flush
do
the
it?
toilet.
Because I
Oh,
say,
yes, they
I
did.
mention
They did
it,
it.
and,
No.
goes in one ear and
Yeah.
out the other.
Oh, no.
So
It's
that's
just
a great
after,
idea.
After a little while, they have to see it like 10 times before they capture it.
Right, get it.
It is
Yeah.
true.
But
yeah.
there's so many pet peeves with me. Oh, it's like, but you learn to adjust with whatever comes along. Like I used to have up to 20 employees, and I had to get along with every single one of them.
Yeah.
They all have different personalities, and if I found that somebody didn't like somebody else, and they came and they told me, I would say,
Tell them.
this person has a certain quality that you might not have, and
Right.
there's certain things that we all need to learn from each other.
Right.
That you did. Okay, if she doesn't fill up the beer box, go tell her. Don't
you please?
tell
Don't
me because it's affecting your job, not mine.
Right.
And
Right.
if you piss me off, both of you are going to be at the door. Or don't start this crap
Right.
with me.
Right.
And
It brings
Problem
everybody
fix.
down at work.
Problem
when there's strife
fix.
between
Well, because there's
employees,
always
too.
two sides to every story.
yes, always,
There's
always.
two
And I
sides,
always
so-
look at the good side of everybody.
Yeah,
Because everybody might not be really good at everything, but they have qualities
And
that.
everybody's got it way down there somewhere, and it might be
Oh,
buried
yeah.
under fear.
And you bring them up
or
for them.
anxiety
You bring
or-
them up. You bring out those qualities that they have. You tell them, you say, God, people really like you because you're right
Don't you
there
like
all the
them?
time. You this or that. Giving them a little bit of compliments for doing a good job today, or
Everybody
little
needs that
things
little
like that.
encouragement.
I need it every
I do
day,
too.
not once in a while. Every
Close it
day.
down.
Well, now.
Well, I think we're ready.
Yes, we're
Move
ready.
on.
Ready.
Our free-for-all topic, we've decided to discuss the 50th anniversary of the women's movement.
Yeah, baby, come
How
on,
that came
Helen. Tell us
about.
all about it, Helen. Come on.
Please.
Well, I was there, and it was really fun, and it was really exciting, and sometimes we paid. We're not talking about way back when we first got the vote, but we are
What
talking
years
about.
are you talking about?
We are talking about the late 60s when we really had to go to bat. Women were not paid anywhere nearly in any close to what if they were doing the same work as a man was doing.
I remember that.
They were paid half
I don't
as
know, it's
much.
changed that
I
much.
am that old.
I was in the university world, and there were no men. The first job I took in the teaching world, I had to go to Texas to get it because they just weren't hiring women. And Texas had to hire women because, fortunately, a law had come in that said you can't have an all-male faculty, an all-male administration, and run a college that's 50% women students. So they had to hire me and about
Wonderful.
4 others. And so we did all this work to show the administration the things that were going on. That they were just making up stuff about women and then teaching it in their classes. You wouldn't believe it. We shouldn't hire women because they have absenteeism because they have periods, and the facts
That's
were
true.
men are
That's-
off more
yeah.
often for alcohol problems than women are off for headaches or whatever.
Sure.
And on and on and on. So we got all this together. We call the president in, and it's really kind of funny now. And we say, here's what has to change around here, and the law says. And he sits there with his pipe and his phone, and then he says, I don't think you understand the law. The law says we just have to show intent.
Oh.
I can intend to do the dishes forever.
Yeah.
And you know what? He was right.
Yeah.
There were no teeth in that law. So that's the kind of thing we were dealing
Yeah,
with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, just from 1970, when I came to this country, to now. Oh, wow. Have I seen the difference?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it used to
There
be,
has been a tremendous,
even
tremendous
back then in the
growth
70s when I started working in the restaurant, there was still a lot of prejudice in this country to women. Especially, you know, somebody
Still
from,
is.
you know, Hispanic.
Still is. There's still
Female
is.
business
Still
owner,
is.
Hispanic.
Oh my God!
I'm with you.
Yeah.
If
I mean,
I
I've-
could tell you my stories, you know, but I had to be strong. I had to be strong and look forward to where I was going, and I didn't care what anybody said. I proved them that I meant what I said. You know, if I
Yes.
said this is what I'm going to do, I would do it. And then they started, you know, having respect for me. You know, even though I was cleaning houses, I was cooking for people, I was cleaning tables, I was cleaning the restaurant or cleaning, you know, tables for people. I would do it with
Well, your
Dignity.
personal
Pride and
integrity, I think
Yeah.
your personal integrity speaks for you, you know, without having to say a word, you know, just your behavior, what you're doing. And coming out of education, I know that it was very difficult not to get caught up in that and take it personal. But I don't think that any of it is personal. It's like, you know, in order to turn things around, it takes a tremendous amount of time to get something changed. And we started with the women's movement, you know, in terms of the vote, back
Way
in the
back.
1916. 1916 is what comes to my mind. And, you know, and look how long it's taken us, and we're still not there yet.
It's changing
But,
an
you know-
entire mindset, people's thinking for so many years. You're changing really who they are, who their parents were, who their grandparents were,
Absolutely.
how they thought.
what I'm afraid of is that the younger generation doesn't know how much we have fought
No,
to
they don't.
do what we are right now. You know,
Because they didn't see it, they didn't experience it, and you can tell somebody something until you're blue in the face, but
yeah.
until they actually see and you know, and investigate it for themselves and have it touches them in some way.
exactly.
They don't really understand or appreciate.
Like just the right to vote for God's sakes.
And then they don't
you know,
vote. I talk to these young women and they say, it doesn't matter, you know, they're all crooked anyway. It's our job to find out who's crooked and who's not crooked.
Lack of education there because they don't really know how the system works. Therefore,
That's
they don't feel
right.
like their vote isn't worth anything.
That's right.
You know, I mean, it's
That's
just
right.
educate, tell these
They-
women about it.
That's sort of, I guess, my pet peeve. As the
But
young
we have
women
come a
don't
long
know,
ways.
they take for granted everything we did.
Of course they do because they didn't see it. And honestly, they get a small portion of it in their history in high school, but they don't know how much women from 2, 3, and 4 generations ago, or even this generation, have gone through.
Well,
To
just
get
going
them
to
where
the
The one good
store.
thing about that, though, is it is an indication that it's accepted.
Correct.
Well, that part's
Correct.
And
good.
so there is a
Yeah.
flip side to it,
Mm-hmm.
and I always have to look for the flip side. There's always a flip side,
That's
Yeah.
right.
and there's always a positive to, you know. But that tells me
We
that,
have
that,
to
it's,
flip.
that it's so
Well,
status quo.
Yeah, we're
now.
close now. So I think what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and flip over to a quick commercial break, and
like
we'll be
that.
back at you really soon
And
here.
we won't.
Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage. Just Between Us, a spontaneous, intuitive live television show with topics that are intended to inspire, delight, educate, and encourage.
Well, thanks for sticking with us, just between us, and we have a really great hot topic to talk about. Today's hot topic is, what do you think of Mississippi's decision to formally outlaw slavery 4 days ago? And we're talking formally.
You know, I did not hear about this. If I did know that, I would have moved there. And I would have been able to have my 10 husbands.
That's right. And not have to pay them.
You missed your opportunity.
I missed my chance. That's my luck every time, you know. But wow, can you believe
Silly.
that really happened?
Well,
No.
technically, you could have had slaves prior to the 4 days ago, technically.
Does that mean that
technically-
people in Mississippi have been keeping
Well, no,
slaves
but
secretly?
the way it got found
all that
out,
time?
the way that
So
they
they
figured
didn't
this
know.
out,
They didn't know.
No, they didn't realize.
They didn't know.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
somebody did.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm sure that they didn't comply for a reason. But what happened was there were some civil cases that were being, disputed in the courts, and the lawyers researched and found out that this was not in place.
Wow.
And so they were going to have to rule on cases based on the fact that slavery was still legal.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you freaking believe
And if
that?
it's technically not a law, they could
It's
probably use it to
technically
their
not a law.
benefit if they choose to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's probably why they had that law, because they could fight it back with that.
That's
but
right.
Why would anybody bring it up until now?
Why
How
not?
many years
Well,
has it been?
it was
I mean,
because of the litigation, and if it hadn't
yeah,
been
but
for
how many
litigation,
years has it been since the slavery?
It's late
Was
1800s, I
abolished?
think.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know,
60 years, yeah.
and nobody knew. Give me a break. I
Well-
don't think they that dumb, are they? Well, maybe they are, because
there may have been some resistance to changing those laws when everyone else did, when the other states did. I mean, things don't happen.
Remember when we were all
It's usually
watching Lincoln,
resistance. Right. And it's usually
You saw all
resistance.
those compromises that had to be made to I loved that film, by the way, because I loved how we saw how many compromises had to be made to
Right.
come to any kind of conclusion that just wouldn't lead to more bloodshed, no matter what they did.
and even till this day, it's like that. You know, how long does it take to change one regulation? You know, it has to go through like
So many processes.
so many processes,
Yeah.
and we never get it done. You know, I have an experience with the American Disability Act. You know, where we went to amend the law, and they just throw you to the side. You know, and it's like until you get on the microphone and you go, now I know why you guys don't give a damn about small business people, and they all looked at me like, oh.
Yeah,
You
time to
gotta
listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's like you have to just be outrageous
Bold. You have
for
to be bold.
people, for the government to listen to you.
Keep bugging and bugging
You know.
and keep with it and keep with it.
And-
You have to be.
but this right here really astonished me. Thank
Well-
God I didn't live in there, because I could have been a slave.
Technically, you
I
could have.
Technically, any one of us could have
Yeah,
been.
that's
You
true.
know? Oh my God. Well,
Technically.
I feel like I'm a slave. I'm a self-employed.
Slave to your business.
You're a slave to you.
Yeah, I'm my
don't know.
own slave.
You're a pretty happy slave.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
You have a good
Cheers.
slave master.
Cheers.
Mistress, slave
Yes.
mistress. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're really fortunate too, of course, that so many people fought, to abolish slavery, and it's almost a personal insult to know that it was never formally done. So many people suffered, so
dare
many
they.
people worked.
Yes.
And then what? Just to find out many years later, oh, well, this really wasn't done properly. It's kind of a shame. People suffered and went through so much for it.
With all the attorneys,
All the
there's something fishy.
Well, I mean, I know personally that, in my life, I get things accomplished that I want to do. I don't get things accomplished that aren't as important to me.
That's true.
And so this is really kind of an indication of that. I mean, I don't care how you want to look at it. I don't care how you want to say you get too busy or whatever excuse you want to come up with. But the bottom line is this wasn't important enough to the state of Mississippi.
California.
To,
I wonder if California
you know?
went through it, or do we still have?
Do a little research
How
on
do
the
we
internet.
know? You know, we don't know.
We assume that it's been taken care
We're
of.
too busy, you know, keeping the country going.
Try to imagine that
Ourselves.
we're kind of hard on politicians, and one of my early jobs was I worked in state capitol, and most of the people in those positions
That's neat.
are well-meaning people. But what happens is they've got constituents over here whose best interests would be served this way. These constituents over here, their best interests would be served this way. These people over here, and so forth. And I remember there were good people and bad people at the Capitol. There were drunks, there were all that kind of stuff. But
Yes,
for the
we know.
most part, they pretty represent the rest of us. For the most part, they're pretty decent people.
Yeah.
And they're constantly trying to weigh off, if I do this is not going to be good here.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Helen.
give them a break.
Thanks. And speaking of a break, we're going to take a quick break. Be right back.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.